Okay, so let's chase the yield curve on debt markets. Let's bring Ramat Baba, who is the chief dealer in charge of fixed income at FBN Quest Merchant Bank, to this conversation. Good morning, Ramat. It's good to have you on the show.
Good morning, Bosin.
Thank you. So let's chase the yield curve together. Yesterday, we saw single digit on treasuries maturing sometime early May, and others around 11%. What's depressing this yield curve around the treasury bills?
It's pretty much liquidity. The frequency of the UMO auctions from the CBN has dropped in recent times. As a matter of fact, this month, since the beginning of this month, there has not been any offer for the one-year bills. Offers have been around the short and the mid-tenor bills. Also, in the secondary market, there's been a lot of liquidity. System is currently about 176.5 billion up. As a result, even the interbank market is trading at about 10%, 12% levels. So liquidity has been really good. And then again, going into tomorrow, we're going to see maturities totaling 213 billion of UMO bills, which should bring more liquidity into the system.
Okay, so how much lower do you think the yield curve will go? And do you think it will still keep investors' sentiment positive, even if we hit the single digit, or at least the north end of single digit?
To be honest, for the short end bills, it's going to be driven majorly by liquidity continuously. But for the long end of the curve, the stop rate at today's auction should determine that, because there's going to be a lot of demand coming into the auction for the one-year bill, which hasn't been on offer at the UMO auctions, like I said. So wherever the stop rate gets to, I think that should really drive what markets will be doing going into the next couple of days.
How much of this stability in, of course, interest by investors is powered by what we see at the FX window?
There's been a lot of liquidity in the I&E window, especially. As a result, rates have been around 360.25 to 361 levels for FX, that's in the I&E window. We also saw some local corporate selling, and that is post-election. We've still been seeing flows from offshore, but it's been reduced.
Any outlook for the DMO's bond coming through for March?
Okay, so on Friday, the DMO released a new offer circular issuance calendar for Q1, which showed significantly lower volumes on offer at the next auction. Before now, about 50 billion has been on offer for the 10-year maturity, but the amount on offer at the next auction is going to be within the range of 10 to 25 billion. We expect a lot of demand to come in, and of course, whatever is not filled at the primary auction will spill into the secondary market. So as a result, we expect rates to probably go lower for the 10-year maturities.
Okay, Ramat, thank you very much. We appreciate your time on the program this morning, giving us the first call on our debt market, and of course, including currency for today. Ramat Baba, chief dealer in charge of fixed income at FBN Quest Merchant Bank. Let's talk about stocks a little bit. Is there a silver lining for today's market? It's the third trading session of the week, and we just get the opening call with Temple Ashaju, our business correspondent, live to us from the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Temple, welcome back to the program. So let's take it up from where you finished off earlier at the beginning of the program with Adedayo Bakar in terms of what you think the silver lining will be for this lackluster stock market. What's the early numbers looking like? I'm sure that's a bit of
number that I saw when I checked the portal.
Yeah, please go ahead, Tempo.
So things are looking up. We're seeing a lot of interest in the banking names again. Investors are clearly anticipating the earnings of UBA, the earnings of Access Bank, the earnings of a lot of the financial services companies in the markets today. So they're buying higher and higher on a couple of all of those names. If you look at GT Bank, it has reduced in terms of the share price gains. Zenith Bank has also reduced to some 22 naira as opposed to 26 naira that it hit when it released its earnings into the market some 2 weeks ago. But today we're seeing interest across the UBA, which is currently up some 0.66%. And we're also seeing Wapik Insurance in the insurance sector rising some 5.13%. When you see things like this, when you see movements like this on some of these earnings, or some of these names rather, it indicates a lot of buy interest and all that. So we're hoping that any moment from now, given the fact that the elections are over, some of these companies will be able to meet their projections of earnings release dates. Since we know that the board meetings have already held, a lot of these earnings have also seemingly been approved by the Central Bank of Nigeria. So the next port of call will be the Nigerian Stock Exchange, where the audited financial statements will be released. And so a lot of interest are basically cutting across the sectors going forward, the banking names, as well as the consumer goods segment of the market, where a lot of traders and investors are hoping that the earnings will be coming in from any moment from now. I mean, if you look at the trading portal of the Nigerian Stock Exchange, look at the information wing of that portal, you'll see that Newrest, which used to be known as Air Service PLC, has now released or informed the market of a 20 kobo dividend that it is going to be paying out sometimes in April, in spite of the fact that it has indicated interest in delisting from the Nigerian Stock Exchange. So information like this will always make traders want to key into companies or stocks that have fundamentals, and that's the kind of sentiment we have playing out in the market right now, Bosun.
Okay, Tempo, this is coming straight from the news wires. Yesterday, Jumia filed for an IPO on the New York Stock Exchange. So, that's one big news. That's Africa's largest e-commerce, born in Nigeria. Jumia is now planning for an IPO on the New York Stock Exchange, making every one of us proud. I'm sure folks over there on the NSE wouldn't mind to have Jumia a bit of that pie coming through for them.
Well, your expectations are correct. I mean, I'm sure that's what traders and investors here will be interested in as well, because again, before now, there's been so much of reports out there that the company was seemingly distressed in a way and was looking for some investors. So I think a lot of these tech-related companies like Jumia, IPOs are something that help them to get back on their toes, to get some kind of working capital again, to get their investments done. For example, at a point in time, I think they said they were in need of some good warehouses. Looks like they had been they had taken the ones they were using or thereabouts on lease or so. This is not really confirmed, but then we understand that they had some issues. So if they are filing for IPO to happen on London Stock Exchange or any jurisdiction, I'm very sure that local investors will be watching out for it. And so that will also be a way to hedge against FX scarcity, FX challenge that some investors are probably having basically.
Well, I just think this is a good news for Nigeria. We made Jumia, we gave birth to Jumia here, and for filing for an IPO, initial public offering, the world's #1 stock market on Wall Street in New York, that was a good one.
Very good one, Bosun. I see a lot of investors buying into that. Perhaps they'll start talking to their issuers and, of course, the advisors looking for a way to key into it.
Thank you. That's a big story.
There are a couple of traders that also have interest in some companies.
Yes, a big story for Nigeria. Jumia filing for an IPO on the New York Stock Exchange. That's one big story out of Nigeria today. Take that home, everyone. We'll get back together tomorrow. Same time, 10 o'clock, with your Business Morning, here on Channels Television.